Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 75 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, a happy Halloween to everyone as well, and a perfect episode for Halloween because the last 3 minutes of this episode were pretty horrific, and generally speaking, I absolutely loved the episode. I thought this episode was incredible, not just for the last few minutes, but for the flashbacks of Go getting to where he is now, getting to I can't even say the person he is now because he's not even really a human anymore. He's a human AI hybrid, and we're going to talk about Go's character in a bit. I do want to talk about that ending scene though, and why this episode was so powerful, why this episode was so good for me, and I think for a lot of people. Seldom do I wake up, and I wake up like 2 hours usually after the episode is up on Crunchyroll, and then usually I eat my breakfast and then I watch the episode. Seldom do I wake up to like 7 or 8 tweets and messages of people telling me that this episode was so good. And that is exactly what happened this morning. And so whenever I wake up to a bunch of like DMs and tweets like that, I know I'm in for a treat, and I absolutely was in for a treat. And the reason that I thought this episode was so good is this is the first time that Soul Technologies, that the villains have won. This is the first time that I can think of that Soul Technologies have actually won, that the villains have actually won. And it's hard for the villains to win in a show where the main character and playmaker wins every single duel. And if you were to tell me at the very beginning of the show, or even in like the 20s and 30s of when the show was going on episode-wise, that the person who would bring the first major victory to Soul Technologies was going to be Go Onizuka, I would have laughed in your face. And that is exactly what happened. The Go that we were familiar with at the very beginning of this show is gone. He is dead. And again, gonna get to Go in a little bit, but they also did a magnificent job of making us put the security guard up against Lightning, against Jin, against the evil Ignis team. That's just what I'm going to call them, the evil Ignises. You think that if any damage is going to be done, that if Team Playmaker is going to take an L or his allies are going to take a loss, it's going to be from Lightning and Windy and Bowman, because they were the center of attention for about 2 months. They were dueling Revolver. They were dueling Playmaker. They had captured Jin. It seemed like they were going to deliver a big blow, and so we put our guard up against them, and we let our guard down against Soul Technologies. And what happens? Here comes Go out of nowhere. 2 weeks after Playmaker defeats Bowman, boom, Earth is gone, Earth is defeated, and Earth is seemingly killed off by Soul Technologies. So a great job of giving us this false sense of who we should be looking at as the villains. Don't get me wrong, the evil Ignis and Soul Technologies are both the villains, and the evil Ignis haven't really had any wins either. The villains in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains have really just not had any wins. And so, for Soul Technologies to get this win, I think that's why it kind of was just a great episode, because you're not expecting it. You're not expecting Go to win, to capture Earth, to leave the scene okay, and then for them to actually kill off Earth. And that is exactly what happened in this episode. And my God, the last 3 minutes really pulled on your heartstrings. The most emotional moment in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains easily, where Earth is being dissected. And you have to remember, these Ignis, and I think Aoi said it best at the very end of this episode, the last line of this episode is her asking Emma, just what are these Ignis? Because when you look at the Ignis, you think, okay, there's some computer robot program, but then when you look more in depth and you look at Earth being dissected, and him trying to plead with these people, these scientists, that he has free will, that he has emotions like love and happiness and pain and fear. This is not, the Ignis are not just robots. They're not just artificial intelligence. They are AI with free will, and they basically are humans to a degree, just in artificial intelligence. And so it made it that much more painful as he's pleading and as he's remembering Aqua, and then at the very end he says he can't even remember her name before the final blade slices his left eye, which are, filled with tears, and he is destroyed. And I loved also, not only that I felt it, that Flame felt it, and that Aqua felt it. I'm sure Lightning and Windy felt it as well. We don't know Windy's condition, but I'm sure Lightning felt it. And Lightning probably views it as a win for his side. It's one less Ignis that he has to destroy and go through. He was about to do probably a very similar thing to as Soul Technologies did to Earth. So this is not only a win for Soul Technologies, it's also a win for Lightning and Windy and the evil Ignis that want to take over humanity. But you know who else felt this? Spectre. And I thought that was an amazing, amazing scene. Spectre actually has a heart, sheds a tear. You can see a tear fall onto his hand as he's holding his stomach or his heart. And he's like, what just happened? And I love that basically confirms there is this extra layer of emotional emotional attachment, right? Spectre and Earth never met each other, as far as we know, after the experiments were done, after the Lost Incident ended. But there's this extra layer of emotional connection and emotional attachment that will always be there. And we see in the preview, Ryoken go to Kusanagi and Yusaku and is going to talk to them probably about Earth being destroyed, because how does he know? Because of Spectre. And he probably has cameras in Soul Technologies' main laboratory. That's how Emma and Aoi were able to watch. I love how they literally have access to everything going on. Even in the main laboratory of Soul Technologies, you would think that Soul Technologies security would be good enough to keep out hackers and people watching through cameras, but nope, it's just any other hacking experiment for Emma. She really is she really is incredible. And I loved this episode also vilified Queen extremely well. Queen, we've only seen her giving orders to Akira, and I thought that she was still pretty intimidating, giving orders to him and being very cold and calculated, but we see her talk to Akira about Go when Go is going through his experiments. We see her in live action dissecting Earth and really talking to Earth and kind of like mocking him in a way before they end up dissecting him and killing him, about how, oh, you gave us a hard time. You know, she really is evil, and I'm not sure if the King chess piece is even around. Queen might be the top dog at Soul Technologies. So again, episode was amazing because the villains finally got a win, something that VRains has been lacking pretty majorly, and it was great heart emotional moment at the end there with Earth. Really, really sad. Gonna talk about Go now. Go, I'm really glad that the route they picked for Go was not one of brainwashing. There were some people in my comment section, and it was a very valid point, that Go might have been forced into this. He might have been talked into this and persuaded into this or tricked into this machine where they ran experiments on him against his will. I would not have liked that because it's brainwashing, and I don't really love that trope in TV, especially in Yugioh. We see it in Yugioh a lot. So I'm glad that this was his own choice, that he is responsible for his own actions. And Go, as much as you want to try to defend him at this point, he is a villain, and he is the only character that has now delivered a major blow to Team Playmaker and his allies, not counting Revolver and Spectre when they defeated Blue Angel and Go and kind of made them into Data, or Revolver defeated Emma. So if you don't count the Knights of Hanoi, Go is the number one character that has delivered a major blow to Playmaker, and a lot of people compared him to Seto Kaiba, which I actually think is a very fair comparison. Seto Kaiba would have done anything to get the upper hand against Yugi. He would have done anything to defeat Yugi. His whole life and motivation was being the king of games, was defeating Yugi and being the number one duelist in the world. He said it would take him to a higher plane of being during their Battle City duel. That's how he viewed beating Yugi. Go, on the other hand, will do anything to defeat Playmaker. And what does he do? He makes a forbidden choice to become one with artificial intelligence. We see towards the end of his duel with Earth that he's actually running out of energy and he's close to dying. Akira brings up that he could die because of all this, and it wouldn't shock me if they do kill off Go at some point. It really wouldn't shock me, because how do you even redeem him? Right? He has artificial intelligence in his brain, which probably is not going to be able to be removed. I'd imagine removing it is probably extremely dangerous, although I don't know that for sure. So I don't know if Go really is going to get redeemed, and I don't think he's a character that honestly needs to get redeemed. I have loved the arc he has taken. in the show, I hate him, but the writers, the way they have written him, the writers want you to hate him. Do not get it wrong. He is a villain character, and he is one of, because of this win, the most threatening villains in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains at the moment, and that is a twist I did not see coming, and that, my friends, is the difference between him and a character like Seto Kaiba. While Seto Kaiba was hell-bent on defeating Yugi, he never gave in to evil. He always kind of stuck with his guns and was still like the leader, whereas Go kind of sold out to Soul Technologies because he had nowhere else to turn, and that's because, he doesn't own a multi-billion-dollar company and isn't the president of a company. He didn't have the power that Seto Kaiba did in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. So that's probably, you can go very in-depth on both of these characters. There are differences, and the main difference, even though they do have that thirst to defeat the main protagonist because they think it will restore their pride and take them to a higher plane of being, Kaiba was never evil. He never fought for evil. Go is fighting for evil, Soul Technologies. And Soul Technologies, I don't even know what their new motivations are, because my understanding was that they wanted to recapture the Ignis to get the Cyburst back up and running, but by destroying Earth, you're not getting the Cyburst back up and running. You're killing off the Ignis. So I don't know where their motivations kind of switched in that regard, unless they want to reinstall the Ignis after they capture them all and kill them all, and they won't have any recollection of these events. That's maybe a route that they'll go. But now everyone is tied to Soul Technologies, and everyone is going to go after Soul Technologies. Revolver already wanted to go after Soul Technologies. Kogami said, no, we're going to go after the Ignis first. Spectre now is going to want to go after Soul Technologies. His Ignis is killed by them. Playmaker and all of his allies. We even saw Akira in the background when Queen is smiling menacingly as they're dissecting Earth, kind of like Grimace, because Akira knows what they're doing is wrong and messed up. So Akira is not Team Soul Technologies, even though we have known that for a while. Aqua, and Flame are all going to want to go after Soul Technologies. So we really have a three-headed war, full scale, on our plates at the moment, which is amazing. Absolutely love when there are multiple factions involved in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. Last thing I'm going to talk about. The duel was great. We saw Go I know I've barely talked about the duel. We saw Go Synchro Summon. The combos at the end were great. Go using the effect of Earth's Link 4 to destroy his T-Wrestle so that he could use the effect to destroy the trap card. It was a really good, it was some sort of combo like that. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, I'm not the best reviewer in terms of dueling action, but Go's Synchro Summon was awesome. To see Earth's Link 4 monster, that was really cool. Crystal Heart got destroyed, and when Crystal Heart got destroyed, Earth lost the duel. You lose the Crystal Heart, you lose the duel, and that's exactly what happened in this one. And Playmaker, I believe, defeated Earth without destroying the Crystal Heart, if I recall correctly. Go doesn't care. Again, he's lost all of his humanity because of this experimentation, and so he does not care about anything but winning and doing the job in front of him. And that's why he is, again, a threat in this universe all of a sudden. The preview looks like Aoi Zaizen is, in fact, the Lost Incident victim. Aesthetically, everything fit. The girl that was in the background when they showed the victim silhouettes had 2 pigtails, which is exactly what she had when she was younger. The color schemes fit. A blue Ignis. She is Blue Angel. She is Blue Girl. Everything aesthetically pointed to Aoi Zaizen. But in terms of us knowing her past, it didn't really make sense. So I'm not going to talk about it too much because obviously that's going to be a major discussion point going forward, especially in next week's review. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm staying neutral on it. I know a lot of people either are going to love it and hate it. The one good thing that we can probably all agree on is Aoi should be very relevant going forward if she is in fact a Lost Incident victim, which is very good. And I'm just interested to see how they do it, and based on how they do it and explain it, I'll give my thoughts on that furthermore going forward. But yeah, it does seem like Aoi is going to be the Lost Incident victim that Aqua is based off of. So anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. I think I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about, but boy, oh boy, what an episode, man. We are in the second half of VRains, and hopefully, since like the late 60s, these episodes have just been great after great after great, and hopefully that does not let up any anytime soon. Please let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments section. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, and James Rose, and to my Diamond tier patron, Bouldergeist, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Syn Cloud and Odd Eyes Vaughn. Huge thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and a huge thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on episode 75. Really looking to hear from you. Happy Halloween once again, and I hope you have an amazing day.